One of the more popular topics and storylines that always plays out every NFL season are coaches on the hot seat, coaches whose job security is definitely in question. And I think heading into the 2014 season, just like every year, it'll be another storyline that plays out. People will be wondering who's the first head coach to get fired during the season if there is one. What coaches are going to end up making it through and surprising and keeping their job? What coaches are going to ultimately lose their jobs? And when I look at the NFL right now, I envision maybe five potential head coaching changes occurring either at some point in time during or after the 2014 NFL season. I see five coaches that are on the hottest seats of all, the way I look at it right now. Now, I'll go through these five now and give you some reasons as to why. If you feel like I've left one out or I've missed one, you feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I think Tom Coughlin is a coach that's going to be on the hot seat in 2014. You take the fact that this is a Giants team that has won two Super Bowls under Tom Coughlin, but his teams are always very up and down, it seems like. Two straight disappointing seasons. If they get off to another start like they got to in 2013, in 2014, in that pressure cooker that is the New York media market, it might be a time where the Giants fans and the Giants organization and maybe Tom Coughlin himself realize it's best for all parties involved for everybody to go their separate ways. This is going to be Tom Coughlin's 11th season as the head coach of the New York Giants. And at some point in time, you get to that question of whether or not the players still are tuned into the coach, they're plugged into the coach, whether his message and his voice are really getting across. And it might have gotten to that point with Tom Coughlin. I would not be surprised at all to see 2014, for one reason or another, be the last season that Tom Coughlin is the head coach of the New York Football Giants. Another head coach that I think is on the hot seat in spite of what the owner says, because the owner, again, is a moron, and that is Jason Garrett of the Dallas Cowboys. 3 straight 8-8 seasons. Mediocre play all around. Jerry Jones, being Jerry Jones, of course, believes that even though his team is more closely ready to be in a rebuilding mode than a win now championship mode, thinks that this team actually has the pieces in place to win a Super Bowl, make the playoffs, contend every year. So if you go to the Cowboys 2014 season and Jason Garrett leads the Cowboys to a 7-9 or another 8-8 finish, you're talking about America's team, Jerry Jones, all the national media attention that this organization gets. At some point in time, you have to believe the pressure cooker is on Jason Garrett. And the pressure cooker is going to be on Jason Garrett heading into the season. I don't know that Jerry Jones would fire him in the middle of the season, but if they don't make the playoffs in 2014, Jason Garrett is a goner. I can't envision any way possible that Jerry Jones can look his fan base in the eyes as a man and tell them straight up to their face that with another 8-8 or 7-9 season that Jason Garrett is the right man to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I just can't see that. Dennis Allen of the Oakland Raiders. First and foremost, he's a Oakland Raiders head coach. I'm surprised he's lasted that long. This is a team that could very well, based off of the toughness of their schedule this year, having to play 3 playoff teams from last season in their own division twice each, and then having to go against the NFC West. This is a team that could be in contention for the #1 overall pick in 2015. As a result, General Manager Reggie McKenzie might want to fire a preemptive strike if the Oakland Raiders get off to a tough start early and say, hey, I want to save my job. I'm going to get rid of my coach and bring in somebody else, and hopefully Mark Davis doesn't fire me as well. So the fact that there's still a Davis running the Oakland Raiders, the fact that the Raiders have been bad for many years, the fact that Dennis Allen really hasn't accomplished much of anything to inspire any real confidence in the Oakland Raiders organization or fan base, I think Dennis Allen's seat is very hot, if not cooking right now. I look at Joe Philbin of the Miami Dolphins. Their general manager, Jeff Ireland, got fired this past offseason. So now they bring in a new general manager in Dennis Hickey. That's something you have to factor into the equation too. Joe Philbin, was somebody else's hire. And does a new general manager in Dennis Hickey want to tie himself long-term to a head coach like Joe Philbin, especially if it wasn't somebody that was his hire? You're talking about a Dolphins team 2 years in a row, no playoffs under Philbin. You're talking about the Richie Incognito, Jonathan Martin scandal of 2013. There's a lot of pressure there, a lot of expectations for the Dolphins to grow and improve and get better and make the playoffs this year. And I think when you're looking at it from Dennis Hickey's standpoint, if Joe Philbin doesn't make the playoffs this year, or if the locker room distractions continue in 2014, you've got no choice but to let him go. I think there is a lot of pressure on Philbin right now in Miami. But I think the coach that has maybe the hottest seat of all, and I can't even believe he was brought back for 2014, to be honest with you, is Rex Ryan of the New York Jets. This is a team that for 3 straight years has failed to make the playoffs. 3 straight years. The old general manager, Tannenbaum, is out. Idzik's in his second year in charge as general manager. At some point in time, you have to expect that, again, in that New York media market, the pressure is going to be ramped up on Rex Ryan and the Jets to produce a playoff team this year. And I think anything less than the playoffs ultimately has to lead to Rex Ryan's termination. The fact that he was allowed to coast through 2013 and they treated 8-8 as some type of tremendous victory. You're celebrating mediocrity, you stupid fucks. You know, Rex Ryan, a guy who his entire time there basically, they have been in a very one-dimensional team, and at no point in time do I think you could ever really view the Jets' defense as truly championship level or special or elite. It's maybe pretty close to it. Some Jets fans may argue with me with the 2009 and 2010 units, but hey, at the end of the day, they didn't get it done, so they weren't championship material. 3 years of no playoffs. New York media market. You know, bringing in Michael Vick, bringing in Chris Johnson, signing Eric Decker in free agency, doing all of this stuff. Yet again, taking another defensive player in round 1, doing not nearly enough to help out your young quarterback and bring more balance to your organization by improving the offensive side of the football. A newer general manager that has to look at it and say, Rex Ryan was Tannenbaum's hire. At some point in time, do I really want to tie myself to Rex Ryan long term? Ryan doesn't have a long-term contract in place. I think Rex Ryan, after this year, is most likely a goner. Could be fired during the season, perhaps, along with maybe a Joe Philbin and a Dennis Allen. But I think of all the coaches on the hot seat, if I had to handicap them 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you'd probably go with Coughlin 5, Philbin 4, Garrett 3, Allen 2, and Rex Ryan 1. I think the seat has to be the hottest for Rex Ryan when you look at all the mitigating factors. They brought him back. So now the only way you could justify keeping him is making the playoffs in 2014, because 3 straight years of no playoffs, an 8-8 record last season. The only way you could justify it is him making the playoffs. It is playoffs or bust for the Jets and Rex Ryan. And I think there's a very good possibility they go in the exact opposite direction in 2014. So again, these are my thoughts on head coaches that I would expect to be talked about being on the hot seat throughout the 2014 NFL season. You let me know in the comment section down below what you think of my 5 candidates and if I missed out on anybody else and why. Let me know in the comments.